Tonight's episode is proudly sponsored by Outdoor Fitness Bahamas and amechelle. Contact us today to learn how you can be a part of the vibration experience. Good evening. This is an exciting episode coming up. I cannot wait to connect with Mrs. Johnson on everything that she has to share about the Agricultural Science Department at CV Bethel Senior High. So everyone, welcome to Vibration, where we empower individuals to speak their distinct truths, passions, and personal message on a global online stage. I'm your host, Michelle McDonald, passionate foodie, author, and entrepreneur. And tonight, we send a special thank you to our sponsors for this episode, Outdoor Fitness Bahamas and amechelle. We are continuing with the theme of striving to improve food security and sustainability in the Bahamas with tonight's theme and topic, diversifying agriculture science at a high school and national level. Our guest tonight is Mrs. Hasina Johnson, who is a dynamic agriculture science educator of nearly 30 years. After leaving high school, she pursued studies in agricultural mechanics and worked as a mechanical technician before moving to the Teachers Training College in Georgetown, Guyana. Here, she obtained the Principal's Award for the most outstanding student with leadership ability and the Guy Sugos Award for Best Graduating Student in Agricultural Science. She also attended the University of Guyana, where she achieved a bachelor's degree in education with a major in agricultural science. Mrs. Johnson presently serves as the coordinator in the Agricultural Science Department at CV Bethel Senior High School, where she has taught for about 18 years. Through hard work and cooperation, she confidently aided in transforming the magnet agricultural science program of this distinguished institution. In addition to these works, Mrs. Johnson has assisted other agricultural science educators in developing a draft horticulture unit and scheme of work for the agricultural science curriculum in the Bahamas. She also is supporting the coordination and facilitation of the first agricultural science summer camp. She willingly serves as a facilitator at the Agricultural Science Summer Professionals Development Workshop on classroom management strategies, as well as facilitated an in-house session at CV Bethel Senior High. Hasina prides herself on attending relevant professional development workshops, seminars, and meetings to remain current with the development of agriculture in the Bahamas. She is also a proud recipient of a Florida Landscaping and Nursery Growers Train the Trainer certification in horticulture. It is Mrs. Johnson's passion to continue to make a significant contribution toward the development of the agricultural industry in the Bahamas, while also equipping students with the necessary skills to be self-sufficient. Mrs. Johnson, welcome to the stage tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, Ms. McDonald.
You are very welcome. And I have seen your posts, the amazing, gorgeous produce created at the farm at CV Bethel Senior High. And it is just so inspirational to know that the students are being actively involved in agricultural studies. But more importantly, that you are sharing your love for this subject with them and inspiring them to do more. Think and dream bigger. Nearly 30 years in education shows a true dedication and commitment to the craft. What has kept teaching as your passion after all these years? And why was agriculture made as the focus within these studies?
Okay, my motivation is extremely intrinsic. I love what I do. As a child, I love being outdoors. I grew up seeing my parents involved in farming.
Okay.
We had about every domesticated livestock and a vibrant backyard garden.
Nice.
This subsistence farming allowed for everyone in my household to be involved in caring for the livestock and maintaining the garden. it was basically our way of life that surely helped my parents to sustain their income. The produce obviously was sufficient. We had enough to share with the neighbors. As a teacher, I've always gotten support from my superiors. My current officer, Mrs. Patrice Green, ensures that she motivates her teachers.
Love that.
At every occasion or wherever possible, she ensures that resources are available for us. And every year, we are engaged in orientation where we do uh, go to schools and enlighten them as to what the program has to offer. Interestingly, too, she continues to conduct professional development sessions for her teachers, thus keeping us motivated. Some of those are workshops for managing shade houses, setting up irrigation system. She even had a chef come on board and show us how to prepare our locally grown produce.
Nice.
Um, and Dr. Singh, she would have had on several occasions show us how to use locally grown materials to use as supplement for livestock feed,
Mm-hmm.
and also how to build a simple layer pen. As regards the students, she would have organized several competitions. These
Mm.
include quiz competition, speech and poster competition, jingle competition, and even garden selfie.
Yeah.
So, yes. And what also keeps me motivated as a teacher, whenever we come up with an initiative, even if it's not one of hers, she buys into our initiative. Recently, I would have had my students engaged in a best planter competition and
Mm-hmm.
a best bed competition. Okay, and you can just imagine how those kids are all excited when they get the news that my agriculture officer is coming on board to reward them.
Yes.
One of the students who won the best planter competition, Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
Green showed up with a stopwatch, with the iWatch, and he was blown off his feet. So not me as a teacher only, but the students are kept motivated because of her input, and the list goes on. My principal, past and current principals, have always been very supportive. Mr.
Oh,
McCoy, who is my current principal, continues to reassure me that I have his unwavering support,
yay.
and also my immediate supervisors. Yes. Um, During the COVID season, well, we're still in COVID season, when we were basically in hybrid, we and we are also short of staff. I'm the only agricultural science teacher at CV Bethel High School
Mhm.
currently. I just lost Mr. Gonzalez. He would have his contract would have expired, and that was a major blow because he was always hardworking and dedicated. However, Mr. McCoy came up with the initiative to have a um, community service for gardening. And he liaisoned with the guidance department, and I was blown away with the support, with the outbursts of students to be engaged in gardening. And these students weren't agricultural science students. They were students
Mhm.
from general population. So on any given Saturday, when you come to CV Bethel, not just to pick and pay. You will see students working, and these students are there for community service. And this was initiated by Mr. McCoy. My students, those who would have opted for agricultural science, they come with a burst of energy, and I feed off of them. The private and public sector, particularly those who would have delivered. There are some persons who would have made promises, and I know that they might have forgotten, but it's not too late to come on board and show us your support because we need your help. But for those persons who have delivered, they also help to keep me motivated. I want to give a special shout out to Green Systems Limited under the management of Virginia McKinney, Dennis Reynolds, who work in collaboration with her, Carey Scape Landscaping. Mr. Carey and his wife came and installed an irrigation system in a section of our garden after they realized that I was manually watering some plants. And
Mm-hmm.
they approached and they said, Miss Johnson, how can we help? I said, we don't have money. They said, I never spoke about money. How can we help? We'll do this for you.
Love
So
that.
those are some of the things that keep me motivated and obviously my students. Dr. Singh and Mr. Melis. Dr. Singh, when she was at Cardi, whatever support she can give to us, she surely reached out. Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Melis, when he is harvesting his sweet potatoes and he has extra slips, he would say, put in the group because he's in the teachers group, and
Mm-hmm.
he would say, come on down and get some potato slips. I have excess. Even plants, fruit trees for us to plant in the schoolyard. You'll say, Miss Johnson, take this, plant it, plant a tree. Okay, so Mr. Daly from the Food Preservation Lab, he and his staff, Mrs. Burrows from BAIC, she and her crew, they come
Mm-hmm.
on board when we have, particularly when we have excess commodities, and we do have from time to time, and they
Yeah.
show us how we can extend the shelf life of our produce. So we are engaged in value added products. We make tomato sauce, pepper sauce, and so on. And last but by no means least, Mr. Sinclair. I know
Mm.
you might um, want to know what I'm talking about, but he came on board a very, very long time ago when we had just started clearing the livestock area. He was
Mm-hmm.
the person who came with his machinery and did that for us free of charge. So thank you to those persons, and my extrinsic motivation would have been those that I would have mentioned, but as I said, my passion for agriculture comes from within.
Yes, and I can absolutely tell that. I love a lot of the things that you mentioned tonight. So the first thing was representation. You grew up around farming, agriculture, and also your family having a community approach to it. So not only did you grow produce and have livestock there, but there was enough to give and share with your neighbors nearby. A huge kudos to everyone that you mentioned, the companies and individuals that have stepped in, all of the partnerships that are supporting this agriculture program. It really gives a lot of hope and it lets us know that there is a lot of interest and support for agriculture science in the Bahamas. And so I loved hearing everything that you stated. It is really, really positive. And also that the students, above all, are benefiting from your passion, your commitment, the involvement of all of these other entities, and of course, the support of certain individuals at CB Bethel Senior High to make sure that it happens. So that is very, very good and inspiring. So, of course, Mrs. Johnson, this comes as no surprise that you are doing incredible work at CB Bethel Senior High. I have seen the photos of the amazing farm there, the students having that one on one, working with the soil, knowing that they can create something with their hands. they can be productive in a way that they hadn't even imagined. Having taught there for 18 years and counting, including your current role as agricultural science coordinator, you have transformed the Magnet Agricultural Science Program. Tell us more about the span of this program and everything that it entails.
Okay, first of all, the curriculum is one that was designed by the Ministry of Education. The agricultural science program has been in existence before I went to CV Bethel, about 7 years before. CV Bethel opened its door to its students in 1998. Everyone practices his or her craft in a unique fashion. When a child chooses agriculture as his or her program, that child is expected to be engaged in agriculture for at least 3 years and must maintain a 2.0 GPA. There are several career paths in this discipline, from plant science, animal science, soil science, agriculture economics, agriculture mechanics, agriculture education, horticulture, and those are just a few. With the plant science, they can be horticulturists, animal scientists, soil scientists, pesticide applicator as for the pest management, agriculture economy, that would give them an insight as to how to do budgeting, agriculture mechanics, that speaks for itself, and the soil and plant science, they can be an agronomist. They can engage in lucrative careers in agriculture, in the landscaping industry. Yes, so with regards to the discipline and what it all entails, those are some of the things that are offered. And the program basically allows for students to be engaged in theory and practical. Agriculture is a practical subject.
Yes.
So we just don't teach in the classroom. They are able to explore scientifically questions such as how, when, why, which, where, what. All those are answered through theoretical and practical activities. So the kids entering agricultural science, they are so blessed because agriculture encompasses most, if at all the disciplines. We are the producers.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So from what you have stated, it shows that it gives us a well-rounded perspective, especially for the students, understanding all of the different businesses and even areas that they can excel after high school within agriculture. And it just makes things a lot more realistic. So they don't have to think in the box of, okay, I can just be a farmer, I can just be a gardener, kind of keeping things small. It's like, I can get into science, I can introduce a STEM career, right? And I can understand the way that everything works, because you mentioned budgeting, understanding how, when, where, why, how. These are the questions that get their mind working. And so it really shows that this program has taken the students into mind and helped them to expand. And so I thank you for transforming that in the way that you did, being able to add to that value for the students. So with the infusion of this into the agriculture science program at CV Bethel Senior High, have you seen that this has created an impact with the students?
Yes, it surely did. As I would have mentioned, agricultural science started at CV Bethel from the inception. I was so elated when I visited BAMSI a few years ago, and I met two persons on staff that grasped my interest. One, a veterinary surgeon, and another, he is an office administrator. They both graduated from CV Bethel and would have pursued agricultural science.
Lovely.
Yes. So agriculture surely would have impacted those students who would have pursued agriculture from the inception, and we continue to do so at CV Battle. I made a personal commitment to carry the torch,
Yes.
okay, onward and upward, because excellence is our hallmark. We know nothing different.
Mm-hmm.
And as my principal will often say, excellence has a look, a feel, and a sound. Most of the students who enter the program would have selected it. So that is what also um, drives me. The
Mm-hmm.
school has a structured system whereby students are given the opportunity to choose their options. There might be one or two that might not have chosen agriculture, but they're surely indoctrinated within 2 weeks. Students who select agriculture are very, very enthusiastic when they come with their inquiring mind. I would have personally tracked students
Mm-hmm.
from the onset when I would have started teaching at CV Bethel. I have a student who would have entered UB, then it was COB. He further went on to the North Carolina University, and he's teaching
Mm-hmm.
agriculture in the US.
Oh, awesome.
My student, Ty Sands,
Yeah.
he would have written all three components of the CT and Gill and
Mhm.
successfully gained good grades. He further went on to study at BAMSI, and he's gainfully occupied at Glaston Road Agriculture Center.
Love it.
There are also students who would have um, been offered jobs during the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and because of their good performance, they have been retained. So once again, I want to give a big shout out to Green Systems Limited, who have retained three of my students who would have started via the work study program in 2018. They are still in their employ.
Nice. Wow. That truly says a lot, Mrs. Johnson, that they would have gained the quality education, but also the focus, the drive, and the discipline from the agriculture science programs at CB Bethel, and also through being inspired by you, the way that you lead the class, you instill certain principles in them, they take that with them into their further studies and also into their careers. So that truly says a lot. Congratulations to all of them, especially Ty Sands for doing a great job. All of them have retained the information that you provided, and you were able to create this passion within them. You know, it's all about energy for agriculture, and they have been able to share that with the world. And he's out here in the Bahamas. So thank you for that. And a special congratulations to them, of course.
Thank
The
you.
Pick and Pay Farm features an abundance of kale, Chinese cabbage, tomatoes, celery, rosemary, beets, and more. It was praised by the past Minister of Education for changing the view of agriculture for youth, from backbreaking to a form of entrepreneurship. Tell us more about the farm, and have the students felt a sense of empowerment through participating in it?
Oh, yes. The abundance of vegetables is to give persons who come to shop that one-stop shop experience. And
Yes.
even if they don't come to shop, but just want to see how we do what we do, they are
Mm-hmm.
welcome because we'll be more than happy if persons can be engaged in backyard gardening. Okay? And if only we can be assisted with getting our livestock unit back up and running, that would be the icing on the cake. So you'll get all those vegetables that you would have listed, and eggs and meat. The
Mm.
Pick and Pay idea came into being after we would have um, basically run at a loss because we were given permission to be at the farmers market on Saturday. We
Okay.
know that nothing is free. However, every time we set up shop at the farmers market, a cost of $50 would have incurred.
Mm.
At the end of the day, most days, most Saturdays, we are just able to pay that $50.
Mm.
So after careful thought, the Pick and Pay idea came into being where persons can come and choose what they want. And it's
Mhm.
always in a nice, fresh state. Because being to the farmer's market, we know agriculture commodities are highly perishable. With that heat out there after a time, the vegetables in particular get very wilted. And if we had lots of chicken and pork, sometimes the storage facility is not wholesome, so it would have been risky. So we would have had to pack up and head out before that casualty occur.
Mhm.
However, if we were to remain there until closure, whatever is sold is not sufficient. Thus, the Pick and Pay came into being. Our Pick and Pay farm operates on Mondays to Fridays
Mhm.
from 9 to 3 and on Saturdays from 9 to noon. And I am more than happy when I see the faces of my students when persons come to actually Pick and Pay and they would have chosen their section or their bed. Oh, I need some beets. Bed number 1 has beets. I need some okra. Bed number 10 has okra, and they go and pick it themselves. So you can just imagine how those faces are lit up when they
Yes.
see people would have been choosing their commodities. In addition to that, the students being there are able to sell, they're able to enter negotiation skills, and
Mhm.
marketing strategies basically are learned or maybe caught, okay, because some things are not taught but caught. So they're able to negotiate, and we know how that goes. So before the onset of COVID, my officer, Mrs. Patrice Green, she would have us display our commodities at the Agricultural Science Expo at the Gladstone Road Center, or
Mhm.
we would set up in the Ministry of Education foyer where we get to display the students' work. And yes, that is always well received and applauded.
Yes, thank you for that. And that is awesome. Hearing that the students get to really interact with their customers, as you stated, negotiation skills. So it helps them to be more comfortable with public speaking, consider marketing, putting that into practice, engaging with other persons, get them familiar. And as you stated, one of the things that we look for as customers is being able to select our produce. We always like it fresh. We want it to look a certain way. We want to know that it's sourced locally. This is quality food where I'm going to get my nutrients from. And so being able to have that facilitated at the farm is a huge advantage. So I completely agree with what you stated. And I can totally understand how the customers feel because I would feel the same way. I love okra. So being able to find it where it's nice and green and is fresh. And I've noticed too that with the local okra, you can actually grow it bigger than what you see in the stores sometimes. And so being able to find it at a high quality state, knowing that it's sourced, knowing that I am supporting agriculture at a high school level, encouraging them, and also getting the rewards of the work that they have put in. So that is extraordinary. Thank you for that insight.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Johnson, you continue to grow and excel in the area of agriculture, keeping the development of this industry in the Bahamas at the forefront. One of the ways you've done this is through connecting with other agricultural science educators regarding the curriculum in the Bahamas for agriculture science. How has this redefined or shaped the agricultural science studies at a national high school level?
You are so right, Miss McDonald. All stakeholders are on board. What is taught at CV Bethel is as a result of a collaborative effort of all agricultural science educators under the dynamic leadership of Mrs. Patrice. However, everyone has his unique style in delivering his craft. With the onset of COVID, all disciplines had to create a national pacing guide.
Mm,
Agricultural science was no exception. Agriculture educators were placed in groups, and using the curriculum, we were able to create lesson kits. So everyone had an input in creating same, and we were able to forward same to our officer who put the information in a pool. So everyone has access to that information. We are all on one accord. We work very well as a team. So the strength of the agricultural education curriculum nationwide is as a result of a collaborative effort under the dynamic leadership of Mrs. Patrice Green. And this surely makes it easy for us as teachers and for students. If a child or an agriculture science educator is to be transferred, that will be a smooth transition into the curriculum because, as I said, we're following this structured pacing guide. So, yes, once again, I cannot belabor the point of us working as a team. Personally, I love variety. So I engage my students using various methods and techniques. The two that stand out mostly would be one, learning disguised as fun. And
mm.
yes, I surely try to make my class fun, especially when we have to go to the garden. It's getting hot.
Oh, yeah.
And
Mm.
there are different activities that they'll be engaged in, and they'll forget that that sun is so hot. So that's just one. And in addition to that, boys, which and the subject is dominated by boys, and you always have to find something innovative for them to do. They're kind of static learners. So when we are engaged in agriculture, yes, we have to cover the curriculum, but I choose ways in which they can have fun while they're learning. The
Mhm.
objectives are always stated in behavioral terms, and they know where they're going from the beginning of the class. They know the condition, the performance, and the criteria, and also the assessment strategy. So they're aware as to what I am looking for as a teacher,
Mhm.
and most of the times they are able to achieve their objectives with at least 90% accuracy. Because at CV Bethel, in the agricultural science program, and I'm sure in all the other subject area, we are working towards no less than a C, which would be a 2-point GPA.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And of course, all I can say is wow. for the amazing contribution that your officer, Mrs. Patrice Green, has done to be able to unify the agricultural science curriculum in the Bahamas, having all of the high schools following a program of high value, keeping the students at a level of excellence when it comes to agriculture. That speaks volumes to the level that was already at CV Bethel Senior High, and how it will help the students of the other schools and just keep everyone on the same page. They're all learning and, most importantly, progressing together. So a huge, huge thank you to her for that, also for your participation, as well as the other agricultural science educators in providing that growth aspect to our curriculum here in the Bahamas. And of course, fueling the agriculture industry in the Bahamas through that process, because of course, they are our future generations, they are adding to us. And as you had shown in your example, they are already learning and working in agriculture careers and continuing on in such institutions as BAMSI. So they are following the curriculum, they are taking the work to heart, keeping it close, and utilizing it in every way possible. I also appreciated how you stated collaboration, which is so important. You know, we all can't do it by ourselves. So knowing that there was a sense of unity with this process also says a lot. It's very positive, very encouraging. And so that is very good. And additionally, as you stated, this has done a great number on the students. You said that one of the strategies that you implement, and I know that that works for the students 100%, is disguising education or learning as fun. So once they know that they're going to enjoy it, you know, I'm putting my energy somewhere where I feel like this is fun, this is engaging, I want to do it over and over again, I want to learn, I want to be a part of this. I appreciate Mrs. Johnson's class. That makes a difference, because we know, and of course you do, students are always looking for something, you know, they're always looking for something to focus on, something to put their energies in. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And so your strategy really helps to put that into practice. They're like, okay, I'm here. I want to do it. I want to be involved. I want to learn. This is fun. What's going to happen next class? Right? Yeah. So that strategy, I know that's absolutely a winner. So what are the steps, future steps of the agriculture programs at CV Bethel Senior High? And how does it connect with the Foods for Thought 242 national initiative, which supports eating locally sourced, selected, and grown fresh produce here in the Bahamas?
The future steps of CV Bethel basically is to expand our vegetable production, and surely we would like to revitalize our livestock production and our processing unit. Those two areas that I would have mentioned last, they are at a standstill basically because of lots of challenges. So once again, and I'm not afraid to beg, we need the support from persons who can help. There are lots of persons that are willing to help, but they wouldn't be able to help if they're not aware. So thank you for helping us to put this in the forefront, that we need help, not only at CV Bethel, but all the other schools need help. Okay? So please help CV first, and then go to the others so that we can expand and reach our goals. This will connect us with the 242 movement, because we'll be able to produce more locally grown produce. And buy local is the ultimate goal. There are so many commodities, so many vegetables that can be grown locally in abundance in the Bahamas, in almost every backyard, and have been growing in schools that persons can buy into. So buy local. If you don't want to shop, start your own backyard gardening.
Mm-hmm.
It will help to cut down on the importation bill, and
Yes.
obviously, it will help with food security.
Mm-hmm.
Persons visiting our farm can be assured of fresh, good quality, locally grown produce. H.O. Nash has eggs. They have, when broilers are in, they're growing broilers. They have vegetables from time to time. And it's the same for Government High, C.I. Gibson, C.H. Reeves. I'm not sure what is going on at S.C. McPherson, but there are lots of schools that are producing. If persons can only support buy local, and not just school, private farmers, private farmers need our support, need your support. If you're feeling to eat some coleslaw, check a local farm or local farms before heading to the food store. Because sometimes lots of those products are imported and you can source it locally. But I want to say thanks to um, Super Value. They have been purchasing items from our farm. So you'll
Nice.
find from time to time that our produce are on the shelves of Super Value.
Excellent.
For the last maybe 2 months, they would have taken off over 500 pounds of cabbages from CV Bethel.
Awesome. Wow.
So, yes, locally grown is the way to go. And we would also work towards reducing,
Mm-hmm.
reusing, and recycling.
Yes.
There are lots of items that reach the dump site that shouldn't be there. Engage in composting, recycle containers. If you want to start a
Mm-hmm.
backyard garden, it shouldn't be an expensive venture. If you have an old tub, don't send it to the dump site. Use it as a planter. You don't have to buy these fancy um, containers to engage in backyard gardening.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone should get on board. We will use our manure, and we have
Mm-hmm.
been doing so, but because of the hindrance of the livestock unit, we don't have as much manure as we used to. But that manure from the livestock, whenever we come on board again, we'll continue to use that in our vegetable garden. We will continue to use our irrigation system wisely so that
Mm-hmm.
we don't exploit the water system. We will use the vegetation from the pea field, and persons that might not be in an institution, but you have persons coming and mow your lawn. Don't let them take away the grass. Use that as a mulch. Put that in your compost so that you can use that to build your soil structure and have a better texture. So with the 2-for-2 movement, we will continue also to use our shade houses. We have a shade house that was donated by the Ministry of Agriculture, and we're hoping that they come on board soon to fix it up because they wanted to do that. Thus, we were told not to fix it up as yet. So as soon as they come on board, our planting season, our growing season can be extended. It's getting hot, so we can plant in those shade houses for a longer time. And our silent pledge to support our less fortunate um, persons in society. We have been giving to 3 homes, and that's free of cost. We
Nice.
have been supplying them ever so often with fresh produce from our garden. So sustainability and food security, we are on board with the 242 movement so
Yeah.
that we can ensure persons buy local, think local, engage in backyard gardening, and the surplus, don't let it go to wastage. Give of those folks that cannot afford it. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yes, and thank you. You have said a lot. First of all, I want to say congratulations for having Super Value purchase your produce, having it on the shelves for a lot of the Bahamians, and of course, even international persons that are coming and they want to get fresh produce. They are purchasing produce created at CV Bethel Senior High. That is amazing. And actually, before you stated what the produce was, my mind instantly went to cabbage because I remembered seeing them on the shelf and I compared it to the photo you gave me. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely it. So that says a lot. Quality produce. I love that you support, you and CV Bethel support shopping local, and you gave amazing tips. Container farming. My aunt does that. And so there's just a lot of practical ways that we can do it. We always think that it's expensive. We think that it has to be complicated. We probably think we need acres and acres of land. But the thing is, in our space, we can create a form of gardening that helps us to add to food security and sustainability. And as a volunteer to a meal kitchen and being exposed to many persons in need within the community, I thank you so much for donating to those 3 homes, being able to provide them with food that they would not have access to. That means the world to them, as I'm sure you know. And so just thank you for everything that you continue to do. And of course, being a part of the Food for Thought 242 National Initiative. This is an amazing step. So before we continue, I have to go to the comments. They have been mounting up. You have so much support tonight for everything that you're doing. So we have Sharon Ellis who says, amazing job, Mrs. Hasina Johnson. Patrice White Green, your officer who you've spoken so well about. She says, excellent job. Sharon also says, excellent job, Ms. Green, great leader. Maxine Patricia Thompson says, great job, Mrs. Johnson and team. Keep up the good work. And Gil Ike, Mrs. Johnson loves what she does and is important to teaching locals. Wow, yes, I can absolutely agree. I met briefly with Mrs. Johnson before tonight's episode, and I could just feel all of the love that she has with it. And she mixes that bit of discipline in it so that the students truly get it. They truly understand what agriculture takes. It does take focus. It does take discipline. It takes a community, but more important, it's always going to be fun. And I know that that's one of the biggest takeaways that the students have. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, Mrs. Johnson, you've already touched on this, but how can we, the public, show our support for your program, your passion, all of the students' efforts, including the Pick and Pay Farm? How can we show our support and help in any way?
Okay, that's simple. Come on down to CV Bethel High School and get that one-stop shop experience
There
where
you go.
you can be able to choose and refuse. You
Mm-hmm.
pick just what you need, and items start at $1.
Don't
Isn't
be
that
bad.
amazing? Which
Yes.
food store you can go in these days and get kale for $1? It's already parceled out and
Mm-hmm.
a stipulated price. But if you want $1 kale, come on down to CV Battle. If you want $1 sweet peppers or tomatoes, CV Battle is the place to be. So not just your support monetarily, as in purchasing locally grown produce, which we appreciate nonetheless, but a simple encouragement. Seeing our post and maybe sharing it or just making a comment. Come and interact with our students, encourage them. I know it's COVID, but As someone said, COVID ain't going anywhere. So come on down, follow the protocols, don't crowd us, and encourage our students. For those persons who are able, we would more than be happy to have your support. Bring, if you can support us with materials or money, and all that would be channeled through the school. Okay, the principal will receive such and then disseminate same to the agricultural science department. In addition to that, what else? However you choose best, as long as it's in the betterment of the students, just come on down and tell us, Miss J, we want to help, but I only have X, Y, and Z. Can you use this? And as
Mm-hmm.
long as it's in keeping with agriculture, yes, we can. So thank you in advance to those persons who I know would be ringing down Mr. McCoy's phone, and my phone and page is always open. Please give us a call and support us in whatever way you can. And no donation is too small.
Yes, thank you for that. And everyone, you've heard it here. Come on down to CV Bethel Senior High. Support the students, support buying local, help in any way that you can. Mrs. Johnson has an open door. She is willing and able to work with whatever you have to offer. We have some additional comments before we get to our conclusion. So Gil Ike says that you teach food preservation also. Gaynor says, phenomenal woman. And Gil says, nothing goes to waste with Mrs. J. I believe that. I believe that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mrs. Johnson, we applaud you for the work that you continue to do through redefining and developing the Agricultural Science Department at CV Bethel Senior High, as well as the team there that you have mentioned, and also the high school curriculum in the Bahamas. Through working one-on-one with the students and equipping them with skills of self-sufficiency, you are creating an environment of inspiration and change. These programs show students that food security and sustainability are in their hands, and they can improve these aspects through the skills that you have shared. As you heard here tonight, you can connect with Mrs. Johnson and others at CV Bethel Senior High to show your support in any way possible by contacting the school at 242-392-9250. As a reminder, this episode is proudly sponsored by Outdoor Fitness Bahamas and Amber L. And a special thank you to our audience for watching, all of the supporters of Mrs. Johnson who continue to show their comments and encouraging everything that she has done truly says volumes. A special thank you to our guest, Mrs. Johnson, who represents the CV Bethel Senior High School brand exceptionally and is a constant fiery torch for agriculture. If you've missed the first half of this episode, you can watch the full episode on this Facebook page later this evening. Also, leave a heart in the comments if you are watching the replay. I invite you all to follow me for show updates and tune in next week for another episode of Vibration, where we raise your frequency and amplify your truth. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Same to you.
You're welcome.